Green and Blue, written by Mike Baker, especially for his Tuesday Acting 1 class. It is the story of Westchester Elementary School principal Eugene Parker, who, frustrated with local arts education cuts, decides to take the $20,000 in remaining arts funding and purchase a Sandler Anderson's impressionistic painting. Naturally, the local PTA is up in arms. This means no field trips. Ooh, that sucks. When the Westchester School Board is forced to get involved, the story goes viral. Now, welcome to the stage, Mike Baker's Acting 1 class with Impressions in Green and Blue.
Mr. Parker, you recently purchased a Sandler Anderson painting with school funds. That's caused quite an uproar.
This has been a source of a lot of controversy in my community, but this was paid for with school funds in an appropriate way. It was a fantastic opportunity for our schools. I don't see why this has caused so much trouble.
I understand you have a hearing before the Westchester County School Board this coming Thursday.
That's true, and I'm hoping that I can convince them of the value of this painting, including that it's worth much more than what the county actually paid for it, and also of its value as an educational tool for the kids in my school.
And you've developed quite a following.
I appreciate all the support I've had in the community, but really, I just want to bring more attention to both the artist Sandler Anderson and also to how much a school can accomplish in art education if they're just a little determined and attentive.
Well, Mr. Parker, we thank you for taking the time today. All the best of luck.
Thank you.
If you could all quiet down for a minute, please. Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight to the Westchester County School Board meeting. We have a very excited crowd for our taking up of Mr. Parker's case tonight. I understand that there are 3 folks who have been selected to represent the range of views of our folks today. If you could please come forward now, I'd appreciate it. Ma'am, I'm sorry, we can't have the picket sign up on stage. If you could leave that down, please. Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to go first?
I will. Madam Chairman, my name is Don Essex. I represent the Westchester Schools Parent Teachers Association. It's come to our attention that Westchester Elementary School Principal, Mr. Eugene Parker, has purchased a painting with the $20,000 in discretionary field trip funding. First, let me say we're already reeling from the cuts in the county's arts budget. Our children only get 9 weeks of art instruction from the county's one roving art teacher. Isn't that correct, Madam Chair?
Yes, that is accurate.
And now, our $20,000 in field trip money is gone. Several of the students' mothers have approached me about the Anderson painting. In fact, my son Josh is writing a song about it. Novel, yes, but far afield from visiting the Metropolitan Museum of Art and partaking in their student programs. We would like to know what prompted the Westchester School Board to approve such a purchase, without at least checking with the PTA first.
Well, first, thank you for coming, and let me just clarify that each of our 6 elementary school principals have a degree of autonomy when it comes to the outlay of these funds. The one caveat is that it must be used to supplement arts education.
Madam Chairman, we would request that the painting in question be auctioned, that funds recouped, and that the loophole that allows this kind of expenditure be eliminated. If it's true that this painting is worth considerably more than the $20,000 set aside in the budget, we would respectfully request that the school board hire a second roving art teacher upon its sale.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll certainly take your comments into consideration. And who would like to go next? Thank you. Please.
Evening. I'm Margaret Renslow. I'm Executive Director of Americans for the Arts. Madam Chairman, I wanted you to know that we are one of the largest arts organizations in the country. I'm here today to speak on behalf of Mr. Parker, a gentleman whose case came to our attention through national media. As it concerns Mr. Parker, we applaud his innovation, especially in light of the county's cuts in arts education. Oh, the multiplicity of things that he is doing around a single painting, they are meritorious. This investment in art, well, it could conceivably endow arts education in the years to come. And such an investment like he has made, well, it should be celebrated and not grounds for dismissal.
Ms. Renslow, we hold Americans for the Arts in quite high esteem. Would you permit me to ask you a pointed question?
Of course, I'll help any way I can.
Are you familiar or aware of any other case, such as Mr. Parker's, where a school administrator or a teacher, for that matter, used earmarked funds to purchase a work of art?
Of course. Well, there's one teacher in the Midwest. She's in Hamilton, Missouri, and in her art class, she tries everything from OK Go, music videos, yes. And imagine this, strobe animated sculptures, just think, to teach art, wow. And then there's Lisa Walla. She tries to bring the outside world to inside her classroom, and she does it through national media. No, that's ours, social media. That has raised some eyebrows. Lisa claims that a great many students do not travel very much or at all. And so she says it's essential to do innovative, imaginative things in order to expand students' worldview. Very important. I'm certain there was some added expense in mounting such a program, and whether Lisa took the money from her own pocketbook or broached the school board on the subject, it's unclear. But I'll tell you, the good news is she made it happen. That's all I know, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Renslow. We will make your comments part of the public record.
Very good.
And our last speaker today.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Hello. My name is Wilfred Tinsel, and I'm a resident of Westchester County. I was the one with the picket sign. I really hate art and the waste that it represents.
Hear, hear.
All it does is adorn walls. Few make a living doing it. It's a ruse that our schools even teach it. It's an elective, for crying out loud. Always has been, which is why we should eliminate it from early childhood education. Art is for dreamers and prisoners, not for young children. We need more despots, not free thinkers. It's right-brain poppycock, if you ask me.
If I might, Madam Chairman, there is some merit in graphic design and mechanical drawing. A good artistic sense is mandatory for those, is it not?
I am talking about painting. $20,000 for a painting that this school board essentially pilfered, which could have been spent on laptops and tablets. I mean, at least you can etch a sketch on those.
Thank you. We will give your comments due consideration.
No, you won't, but that's okay. I made my point.
Thank you. Thank you all for addressing the board today. We will now close our open session and go into an executive session where we would take up the matter of Mr. Parker. Just so you're aware, we will be hearing from a local art appraiser, Mr. Warren Wessler, as well as from Principal Eugene Parker. Thank you all for coming. Today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Madam Chairman.
You are aware of the Sandler Anderson painting and his body of work, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And is this painting worth $20,000?
Oh, most definitely, yes. I researched the sales of the late Mr. Sandler Anderson's work. There was one that sold at Christie's for $147,000.
Is that one similar to this one?
Not exactly. That one was called Hotelier and was a realistic representation as opposed to Mr. Anderson's later works, which tend to be more impressionistic.
So have any of his more impressionistic works sold in excess of $20,000?
Not as of yet.
Will they?
Mr. Anderson is deceased, so I expect some of his later work to appear at viable auction houses in the not-too-distant future.
So if Impressions in Green and Blue were one of Mr. Anderson's more realistic works, would it sell for an excess of $20,000?
That really depends on the artist. Some painters experience success in a variety of genres.
Oh, come on. Picasso's blue period paintings or his gypsy sell for far more than his single-line drawings.
Of course.
So realism is worth more? Overall, I mean.
There are more realistic paintings in museums and collections, yes. You can include the Romanticists, Pre-Raphaelites, and some of the modern painters in that genre as well. Think of realism as a classical endeavor as opposed to postmodern.
So when you're saying classical, is it something similar to saying music? Like, could you explain to us a little more?
A similar comparison might be that of classical music and jazz. Finite versus something that is sinewy, lyrical, and ever-changing.
So Mr. Anderson's realistic works will always be worth more?
That is hard to say. We are far removed from the classical age, but will a Pollock always be worth more than a Hopper? Not necessarily, because the realist brush will always be held in high esteem when it comes to artistic precision and due diligence.
Thank you, Mr. Wessler. I believe that we've learned a great deal today.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Sarah, would you ask Mr. Parker to come in, please? Thank you. Boy, what a conundrum. I really don't want to be having to gauge the long-term impact of the body of work of Mr. Anderson. My goodness. Mr. Parker, we all know why you are here. We have received numerous complaints about your use of the elementary school's field trip budget to purchase a Sandler Anderson painting. Did it ever occur to you to check with the board first?
To be honest, I sensed that the board's response would be a negative one, and I've always considered myself to be a visionary.
So you're saying we are not?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that 2 of my 3 degrees are in art education. So I followed a hunch. I happen to think it was a good one, and it will pay off in the end.
Well, while technically its acquisition doesn't violate the mandate of the law, it is pushing the limits here. We really are skating on thin ice. What prompted you to purchase this?
An impressionistic work is one of the only pieces of a movement that can still capture the 21st century's imagination. It's seen what the eye sees, but in a somewhat distilled manner. It's a time machine into the past or the future. An impressionistic work can capture the visceral sensation of a fleeting moment. That's what the Impressionists did and continue to do. They feature an absence of the finish, eccentricity, and photographic flatness so characteristic of realistic works. Realism denotes the discipline of the line and the pure genius of the brushstroke, but it leaves little to the imagination. Who cares what a building looked like 100 years ago, or the profile of some eccentric cleric? May I have permission to address the board?
Briefly.
Do you like Monet, and the French Impressionists?
We are not talking about Monet here. His works are worth millions.
And yet at one time, that was considered slapdash workmanship by some. Distilled oils, a myopic view of life, and yet its genius is far from myopic. It's an ethereal world seen in 2020. Sell the painting today for $200,000 if you like, and restore it a paltry field trip budget. Or hold on to it and endow arts education for years to come. Why can't our schools be galleries? 30 years from now, bricks and mortar will be a thing of the past. 75% of education will be conducted in online media centers around the country. Report there 1 or 2 days a week and do the rest from home. When that time comes, this painting will be worth $1 million or more. Think of how many field trips it'll buy. I may have erred in acting so impulsively and not running this by the school board first, but this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. My hand went up, and I bought a $200,000 painting for $20,000.
Now, are you aware that none of Mr. Sandal Anderson's impressionistic works have sold in excess of $20,000?
No, I was not aware of that, but my background in art tells me that it's just a matter of time.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. We will adjourn and discuss this matter. If you would kindly wait in the hall, we'll have our decision momentarily.
Madam Chairman, I say sell the damn thing. It is laughable to think that this would be worth $1 million. Who is Mr. Parker kidding? History has shown that realism or naturalism, whatever it is that you want to call it, always wins the day. The main thrust of art should be from a hand of a specialist, not some hack who throws paint on a canvas. In fact, I can prove it to you. Miss Baker, I would like to introduce a local artist whose work sells for peanuts, and I can show you what she can do in 30 minutes.
Sarah, this is a closed session.
I understand.
We can't have outsiders listening into our deliberations.
It's fine. She's deaf. Miss Baker?
Well, if there's no further objection, I guess if it serves some purpose, have her go ahead.
Sarah, I disagree with your overall premise. Popular artists, they base their price on the knowledge they've gained over the course of a lifetime. Whistler is a prime example. I remember when the school took us to see Whistler's Mother, a painting at the National Gallery of Art. Georgia, you remember that. That painting was the epitome of realism at the time. And yet, a nocturnal Whistler, knocked off in 2 days, is worth more today than any of their realistic portraits from that era.
I do remember that.
Since when did you become an art aficionado? I'm with Sarah on this one. This is not what we bargained for.
Oh, please. If a painting's supposed to be a narrative, this one's poorly done. Is that a flower? Oh my. I can't even tell what this thing is, unless I go into the other room.
So you're saying then that the subject matter has become subordinate to its execution?
Yes, I don't think that this painting is worth the $100,000 or whatever Mr. Parker says it's worth.
It's $200,000.
It is impressionism. The lines were blurred to make objects indistinct. Check your glasses. It is like a dream.
What dream? More like a nightmare.
Thank you.
Well, I do see some harmony here.
There's no harmony. This is just abstract. I don't think we should pay $20,000 for that.
I think it's representative of today's art. It's a shift from art that has a certain purpose or usefulness to something that has more like morality to it. It's art for art's sake. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it. I just wonder how popular the thing will be in the next 20 years. It's probably just best to sell it.
Art should be judged for its beauty or whether we perceive it to be beautiful.
I'm sorry, but if beauty is in the eye of the beholder, then we are all screwed. Nothing has value beyond the few who call it beautiful.
So when reality became mechanics, everything became art? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Name me one artist in the 21st century who's still alive, whose work fetches more than $20,000.
I had a feeling this was coming. Let me show you some of the up-and-coming American artists whose work fetches considerably more than $20,000 a painting. Madam Chairman, if there is no objection, I'd like to narrate this slideshow.
No objection. This should be interesting though, huh?
Over the past year, Sarah, I conducted dozens of studio visits, traveled to numerous art fairs, and saw hundreds of gallery and museum shows. The list of painters to watch in 2015 is made up of some new discoveries, some artists who, in my mind, represented breakout work this year. One of them as Donna Nelson. I first became aware of Gina Beavers' work in a group show that artist and exhibition curator Eddie Martinez organized several years ago. Ponzi. I was intrigued then, but it was her late 2012 show in Clifton Benevento in New York that really sold me. She's highly sought after. No, it's quite good art. How do you attract attention in the cavernous Miami Beach Convention Center? You can do it with one of Armin Baim's figurative paintings. He is currently working with the figure, but he wears his German expressionist influences on his sleeve and is clearly capable of carrying out his own territory. Andrew Brischler has been on a bit of a rocket ride over the past year. A New American Paintings alum, he was featured in the publication just last year as he was finishing an MFA at the School of Visual Arts. Since then, any number of galleries have taken on his work. He's definitely one to watch. I was aimlessly wandering around the Lower East Side while waiting on a friend for lunch, and I popped into the David Lewis Gallery, which I had never heard of. Anyway, on display was Lucy Dodd. Dodd's work, according to the Times, widens the senses, makes the cosmic visible, and uncovers something fundamental. I have plenty more.
I think we get the picture. No pun intended.
Thank you very much, Georgia. I think we have an idea of what we're dealing with here.
So looking at French fries and crab salad is art? Those are the only things I recognize amongst all these works. There is no pretense here, real art.
Ladies, what is the usefulness of this painting beyond decorating the hallway? Art should be true to life, not some abstract crap like this.
Okay. Its beauty and aesthetic aside, it represents the knowledge the artist has gained over the course of a lifetime. We've been over this. It has definite resale value now and down the road.
Or it's like throwing a pot of paint in the public's face.
Good one. Now, where have we heard that before?
Let me go back to something you said. So, if an artist is accomplished, that is all that matters? So, if he paints something in 20 minutes, it's worth something? I don't think we should pay $20,000 for that. Oh my God.
Art is nothing more than extracting money from a bunch of believers.
Now that was poetic, but definitely self-serving. You never wanted an arts or music program to begin with.
The 3 R's. That is where we lag behind most industrialized nations. Playing a flute or flinging paint on a wall won't feed you. If you can't, school actually can't teach you to read or write or balance a checkbook, then what good is it?
Schools have to have art and music. This painting represents what was intended and is finished with artistic skill. I think that's all we need to say. We don't have to qualify it or catalog it for that matter. The fact that Mr. Parker was able to obtain this painting from an estate sale on a whim should be lauded. Now, whether to give him the keys to the kingdom in the future is what we should be voting on, not his dismissal. We could sell the painting tomorrow for perhaps 4 times its worth, recover the precious field trip money, and guarantee 18 weeks of art instruction this year instead of 9. Why don't we consider that instead of being so pugilistic and crying, off with his head?
Yeah, and you know what? It makes a statement. We're mad as hell. We're not going to take art cuts sitting down.
Let's look at Picasso. Is a simple painting on paper worth something? I don't think so. That's why I am so distrustful of Wessler's pontification, Mr. Parker's compulsiveness, and his choice of art.
Okay, look, I'll tell you what the real issue is here. $20,000.
Thank you.
No field trips, and an irate town council that thinks that we threw a pot of paint against the wall in lieu of the Louvre.
That's hyperbole. Who has money to visit the Louvre? I happen to think what Mr. Parker did was bold and beautiful.
More like the young and the restless.
All right, ladies. I have enjoyed this little repartee on art, but we are off subject here. What we should be debating is whether or not Mr. Parker broke the law and misused county funds.
This is another point we're going to disagree on. Read the budget item we insist to be included in the district budget.
All right. The school district is to be provided art specialists for each of the six county elementary schools for 9 weeks a year. 9 weeks a year and $20,000 for optional field trips to be researched and approved by each of the 6 county principals. That's all it says. It doesn't actually define what a field trip is.
We all know what a field trip is. That is all the art these kids get in a whole year? 9 weeks?
Exactly. That's why field trips are so important.
This is going to be the most left brain sphere in the universe.
Oh, it does read further here. The Westchester School District needs to retain 9% of its arts budget in the next biennial period. We strongly suggest that this include a roving art teacher and $20,000 in art history field trips. The trips may include local art museums and art consortiums.
Well, what exactly is an art consortium?
No clue. Come on.
Well, ladies, it says here it's a professional, theater, entertainment, educational organization designed to provide the total arts theater production experience. Dance, oral history, that kind of thing. And that's what Mr. Parker is doing. According to this flyer, he's having one class create a dance around the artwork. Others are writing a history of the plein air movement and essentially getting kids off their computers and outside. A third class is writing a song that will be recorded and played when you walk by the painting. That would drive me crazy.
Okay, look, there is no usefulness to this painting beyond decorating the hallways. Art should be true to life, not some idealized view of life. End of discussion. I am done. Let me show you what Mr. Parker has wasted our money on. All right, art experts, you tell me, which one is the real Andler Sanderson painting? Okay, forgive me, but anyone can paint this crap. That painting is not worth the canvas it is painted on. End of discussion.
I'm ready to vote.
I move that the board vote on the motion before it.
Okay, so our motion is the Westchester School Board dismisses Mr. Eugene Parker for misuse of county funds and requires him to reimburse the county in the amount of $20,000 in lost funding.
There's no caveat as to when he has to pay it back.
How about 30 days after the date of dismissal, or legal recourse will be sought?
I so move.
I second.
So the motion now reads, the Westchester School Board dismisses Mr. Eugene Parker for misuse of county funds and requires him to reimburse the county in the amount of $20,000 in lost funding within 30 days or face criminal prosecution. Does that work?
Great.
I can't believe we're doing this.
You guys, we can't do this. We can't do this. Just sell the painting. Let Mr. Parker keep his job.
There is no precedence for that.
I call for a vote.
I second.
Those in favor of dismissing Mr. Parker? And those opposed?
3-3, Madam Chairman. You break the tie.
In listening to this discussion about art and its usefulness, I have to admit that I am more confused now than I was before we started. I don't doubt that this painting is worth the $20,000 that Mr. Parker paid for it, nor that his motives were altruistic. But the fact remains, as co-chair Ms. Sarah Marshall so aptly stated, there is no precedence for the acquisition of such a thing, or for the disposition of it, for that matter. While I hate to lose a valuable and hardly regarded principal like Mr. Parker, I'm afraid we don't have a choice. I vote yay. Yes. Mr. Parker is dismissed. Liddy, you championed his cause more than any of us. Would you ask him to come back in, please? Mr. Parker, we regret to inform you that the Westchester School Board has voted for your dismissal. You will be given 30 days to reimburse the $20,000 you spent on the Sandler Anderson impressionistic painting. If you fail to comply with this within the 30-day time frame, the board will unfortunately be forced to pursue legal action. Your dismissal is official immediately. You will be served the necessary legal documents by the close of business tomorrow. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
And with that, we are adjourned.
I think we did what needed to be done.
Excuse my French, but it's called cover your ass.
Mr. Parker is a visionary. This will come back to haunt us. I promise you.
This this is not about him being a visionary. This is about the 9 weeks of art instruction, the PTA field trips to make all the moms happy, most of whom voted for us. That is all this is about, ladies.
I was discharged by the Westchester County School Board. I returned to $20,000 and I donated impressions in green and blue to the school. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was interviewed by the magazine Art America, which did a several-page spread on me. I became the darling of the art world, and it didn't hurt Sandler Anderson's legacy either. There was a rush on his work. More good news, too. The pressure became so intense on the Westchester County School Board that they were forced to hire 4 full-time art teachers. To pay for it, the county council negated all school board raises for the next 4 years. The school still has the Sandler Anderson painting, only now it's appraised at over $300,000. Probably because of the rush to buy his work. Last week, I was asked to visit the White House by First Lady Michelle Obama. It appears that Sasha is a budding artist. Last May, I was engaged with school board co-chair Sarah Marshall in a runoff election for New York Senate. When asked to comment about her diatribe against the value of art in schools, Ms. Marshall declined, but the deaf artist present at my hearing spoke up. It seems that she is an accomplished lip reader, and I won by a 2-to-1 margin.